Today's video takes us back to Gene Frost's instant arcade games for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, published by Pan Books in 1983. I covered the first game in this book a few weeks ago. I wrote a game called Magenton. This time we're looking at an adventure game. This is the one I was fascinated by as a kid, and all I can remember was it involved goblins and keys and magic crystals and shimmering curtains. And I found it, and I've typed it in for your pleasure. So what they have is a series of Lego bricks that you build up to get a game as you go along, and they've chosen a scenario of a maze of dungeons. The player must search for a crown of emeralds left there eons ago by the king of a long-forgotten race of troglodytes. The only feature of the game is that some of the passages from cave to cave have doors that are locked. To open these, the player must find and take a key, of which there are several lying around the maze. To prevent things being too easy, we will not allow any keys used more than once. They will always either break or get stuck in the lock. So looking for the crown of emeralds in the dungeons of Gorm, the computer understands the following verbs: go, take, and open. And a nice flashing of the crown of emeralds. Ooh, it must be valuable. And the game is called Treasure Trail. Having pressed enter to start, we have to wait while the computer generates the maze. And the algorithm it uses to do this is described in the book. It is quite nicely done. It picks a random location for the crown, random location for the player, make sure they're not the same, then works out a path between the player and the crown, and then puts lots of cave rooms around. So we're currently in a scary, gloomy cave with a wooden key, doors to the south, east, and west. Let's take the key, and it has to be in uppercase, so let's put caps lock on, and let's take the key. Excellent. Job's a good one. So let's now, can we open the east door? Because there are doors in all three directions. You have to specify which door you want. Excellent. I opened the east door. Obviously it wasn't locked, which is good. Let's go east. Unfortunately, we can't go E for east. So let's try east for east. No, you can't do that either. You will have to enter go east, go north, go south, go west. Not the end of the world. So I'm now in a small, miserable cave with a door to the east and a door to the west. So let's go east. The door is locked. I could open it using the key I picked up earlier, but I'm going to go west because life is peaceful there, to where we came in. And we're now in a large oppressive passage. The description has changed. It was not what it was before. Go south, the door is locked. Let's go west, in the open air. A large drafty passage. Whenever you get into a room, the description will change. Just go south. Door is locked. Let's keep going west. I'm in a cold, miserable passage with a large key. The adjectives related to the keys are randomly generated as well from a little pool. Let's now go west. We like going west. Oh, I'm in a large dark passage. There is a crown of emeralds. So let's take the crown. I cannot take the crown. Okay. That's not good because it's there. Take the crown of emeralds. The key word here we need to type in is emeralds, not crown. So take the crown. As long as you say take emeralds, it'll work. Take the crown of emeralds, and we win the game. Congratulations, you have recovered the fabulous crown of emeralds. Well done. Nice little jaunty tune. Do you want another game? So we'll continue making the game better with the features in the book, but first I'll make it better on my own. So a few things struck me as needing improving already, so I've made some minor tweaks. When I started the game, I tried to take key to be told you can't take the key because it expected the input in uppercase. Not the end of the world, but if you want uppercase, make sure caps lock is on. So I've used a bit of code from Andrew Hewson, which is a basic statement with a complicated if and then a call to the Spectrum ROM to turn on caps lock if it's not on. I think games are always enlivened if you add a suitable font. So I've picked one of the fonts from Char set. This is font number 8, which looks quite Dracula-like. So I thought I'll give that a go, see how that works. I then thought games always like nice to have a nice loading screen. So I've created a picture of the long-lost King Gorm of the Troglodytes, here pictured wearing his crown of emeralds. Obviously, long-term viewers will recognise this is the same picture used for the evil villain from Magenton, which seemed to make sense. It's for the same book. It's got our good pal Jim Blimey. So I've did this by loading his picture into ZX Paintbrush, then saving that as a screen file, loading that into a basic program, drawing the crown on top of it, and then saving the whole thing to tape. I lost the bottom 2 lines because when you save the tape, it goes press enter when you're ready. The way to get around that is not to draw to the screen. We've had to copy the screen. So draw to the screen, copy the screen somewhere else, and then save it. Then you get the bottom 2 lines. And the treasure trail title is just big blobs of graphics characters on the screen. Look at Kim Gorm there, menacing us with his big scepter thing, with its single glowing red eye. Ooh, he's scary. Hopefully we won't bump into him or his ghost, as he's probably aeons dead. And so are his people. After he died, they must have been gormless. So now loaded, got a nice new Dracula font, little bit hard to read. We've not changed the gameplay, it's still go, take, open, look for the crown of emeralds. One thing I found confusing when trying to make a map was the room descriptions kept changing. So you will start out in a cave, go east, you're somewhere else, come west, you might be in a passage, and the adjectives change. They are calculated, there are 2 adjectives chosen from a list of 5, 2 separate pools of 5, and then it's a 50-50 chance of being a cave or a passage. So I kept the random generation, but after it's generated once, I save it into an array I save the 3 numbers into an array. So now wherever you're in a cold dark passage, it will stay as a cold dark passage. And we start off in caps lock mode. So now we can take the key and it's all nice and simple. We don't have to remember to do cap shift 2 to turn the capital letters on. So this turn took about 22 minutes. I was wandering around and got very, very lost. And I had to actually make a map with pen and paper, like in the good old days. But I'm not going to subject you to all of that, because I'm going to fade out in a moment and take you to the victory section. Coming out of the victory section, we're in a scary, drafty cave, picking up a golden key. There are 5 adjectives for the keys, pick them up. It's not too bad to read, it's a little bit, maybe a little bit overblown. I certainly wouldn't like this font in lowercase. So now I've gone east to a scary, gloomy cave. Let's head south. So there's no challenge so far, apart from making a map. There's no time limit, there's no obstacles so far. These will get added later. But we now have the navigation of the maze, looking at how the keys work, making a map, getting the descriptions right. So open the west door, and that's fine, the key breaks, we can go west. There were some minor bugs in the logic. Like, what happens if you try and open a door and you don't have a key, but it's not locked? It tells you can't open the door. But here we're going to take the crown of emeralds, move on to our special effect. This is entirely done in basic. If you code your basic statements just right, you can extend the border into a striped border. So I've done that and created a nice little 5 jewelled crown of emeralds, and obviously made the winning message flash. So I think that's a bit better. Now let's look at what the book has to turn this from version 1.1 to version 2.1. So this is from chapter 34, Multicoloured Border of Supercharge Your Spectrum, published by Melbourne House, written by David Webb. So some games do have rather fancy multicoloured borders, the most famous of which being Aquaplane, which extends the horizon very, very neatly into the border. I always assumed this had to be done with machine code. Whenever I tried to do multiple border commands, I just got horrible, horrible flickering. The key here, however, doing it in basic, is pause 1. You pause for 1/50th of a second, which is then going to synchronise you with the beam rastering up and down rastering down the screen. So you can then issue various commands. I've got those wrong, let's try that again. So you can issue multiple border commands, and they will be of varying lengths. And he's very, very sensitive to change. If you try and put too many borders in, you'll get horrible flickering, and this is not a nice effect. But here, nice solid colours. And you go around in a loop. You have to constantly go in a loop. If you want to exit the loop, you get a solid colour. So here we have here, and by pressing keys, you can see the border wobbling about as I press more keys, because the Spectrum has to read the keyboard. And so it's very, very sensitive to changes. The book also notes that it's sensitive to where you are in the code. So here we have it right at the start of the program, and that's why I put it in our code. So literally line 1, we're doing this. If you put it later in the code, it's slower, and therefore we can get less lines here, less lines in. So what we're now doing is David's giving us a way of drawing some stripes on the screen of varying colours and depth to roughly match up with the multicoloured border, to see what effect we can get away with. And this is what inspired me to create the Crown of Emeralds effect, which you get when you win the game. Unfortunately, you can't play music while doing it, even though a very short beep completely wrecks the timing. Because on the Spectrum, you can only do one thing at a time, and beeping will send commands also to the out254, which is the same thing you use to change the colour of the border. Also, later on version 6, I'm going to save some memory by changing border 0, for example, to border not pi, and that was enough to completely hose the timing. So here we've got a nice solid screen full of colour. By pressing the keys, so you can see it's not quite perfect because the lines don't quite add up. We're going for example, yellow starts slightly after it should do, but magenta starts before. It's not entirely guaranteed based on how well you perform. But I think it's rather jolly. This is just done entirely in BASIC. So the way the book works is you write the main bit, it works fine. Then it says, right, add these sections here, there, and everywhere. It gives you all the code. It's all scattered in different parts, but you extend arrays, add new subroutines, and so on. So version 2.1 adds the concept of food and strength, and you have a life force meter, which slowly runs out when you're in the dungeon. So that gets implemented. I've changed the font. I've gone for character set number 9 from Char. And I've also, because it's food and it tells you about your health and whether you're running out of food or not, I thought, right, what we really need is something like Gauntlet, where it tells you that warrior needs food, that sort of thing, and Valkyrie must eat, don't shoot food. Because I really like those voices out of Gauntlet. So using sample, which I used previously in the Forest Fire episode, I recorded a sample of myself saying some suitable words, and then added that to the program. That adds 20,000 bytes. A very small speech sample is massive. But I think it's worthwhile when we come to see it. But also extends the loading time enormously as well. I have cut that out for your convenience. So here we are with our new font, and we have a new verb, eat. We can still go, take, and open. We can also eat. And we now have an instruction screen telling us that there is an evil force in the dungeons which drains our strength. But if we're lucky, we can find the magic food to restore our power. Your strength starts at 1,000. If it drops drops to 0 or below, obviously you are dead. This is the first time now we can actually lose the game. So here we now have our persistent descriptions as before on the new font. We're now moving around the dungeon, seeing what's what, opening the east door. So dusty, eerie passage. Remember, you have 5 different adjectives times 2, either cave or a passage. So let's go east to a damp, eerie chamber. Doors to south, east, and west. So let's go east. Mazes 36 rooms in a 6x6 square. Dusty, dark passage. There is a wooden key. Let's take the key. It could be wooden, could be golden, could be rusty, could be large. Now it says my strength is fading. Once your strength is below half, you start getting warning messages every so often. And as it gets worse, they get more and more serious. So our strength is currently just fading. We need to find some magic food. Magic food restores your strength completely. And you can take it and eat it at your leisure. Like a picnic. Notice magic food, not just normal food left on the ground that for eons that you can still eat. You can still eat. Apparently they defrosted some woolly mammoth. You can eat it. When I had a dusty, dirty tomb, I've added some extra choices of what you can have, so you can now have different places like tombs, not just caves and passages. There is some food here, so we'll take that. I'm not going to eat it just yet though, because I want to show off our new system, and I'm getting very, very weak. So let's go south.
Warrior needs food.
My strength is ebbing fast. I can't go on much longer. Warrior needs food. That is one of my samples, but not all of it. That's just 14,000 bytes worth for those few sentences in such high quality. Let's go south.
Warrior needs food.
It will keep telling you until you eat some food.
Warrior needs food.
The border goes white because the machine code subroutine, which is not very long, doesn't reset the border properly.
Warrior needs food badly.
We're now using the full 20,000 bytes, but Warrior needs food badly. That's the slightly worse condition. Now eat some food. I'm in right as rain. Let's now look at version 3. So version 3 of the game introduced torchlight and goblins. There's no new verbs. It's still go, take, open and eat. You have a torch which has batteries. You can replenish the batteries by picking them up. You don't need to use them, just pick them up. Once your batteries run out though, you're in the dark. So it warns you this on your initial screen, that you have a torchlight which stops the goblins from eating you. Once your torchlight runs out, which is in 15 minutes time, you're dead. So it adds another timing mechanism. So you've got your health running out, and also about running out of the torchlight. So let's see how well it's implemented. So that's the game. I've added that feature there, which is called carpet right, where the screen is rolled up right in the carpet. It's a nice effect. You should be able to slow it down. Unfortunately, whenever I tried to slow it down, it didn't work. That was from Supercharge Your Spectrum, which is also where I got the advice about the multicoloured border from. Excellent book by David Webb by Melbourne House. Not for commercial programs though. So here I'm moving around. It's been absolutely ages of playing this game. I've wandered around. I've actually found the Crown of Emeralds. But I want to show you what the game is like and how the
Warrior needs food.
And how the batteries work. So now it's warning you when you've got less than 5 minutes left. It says battery to last only 5 minutes more. So I'm walking around, and it keeps warning me that there's 4 minutes left. Cold dark cave. Door's locked. Let's open this door. 4 minutes left. So it's not 15 minutes of real time. What it does, it gives you 150 moves. So 15 minutes is 150 moves or actions, after which time you run out, which is an awfully long time for a 6x6 maze. An awfully long time. If it was real time, that'd be a challenge, because at 15 minutes, I've taken longer than that to solve the maze. But 150 actions is enormous. So I will be adjusting this. So I kept on playing, and at a certain point I broke into the code and changed the time to get this warning message out, because when I found the crown, I was like 3 minutes in out of 15, which was just crazy. So I broke into the program, and let's see what the time actually is. 115. So I'm getting bored of this. So let's increase it so I only have 10 moves left. And let's go to 250, which is the main loop of the program. So I've got 10 moves before the goblins get me. So my torch is now flickering. I can hear movement somewhere else in the cave. Probably laughing and giggling, as goblins do when their goblin king isn't around. Let's open the east door. Maybe we'll find some batteries. But you can't store batteries. If you pick them up, if you take the batteries, you instantly use the batteries and get full torch power again. You can also eat things that aren't food. You can eat keys, and you can eat batteries. So you can't eat batteries, you can't pick them up. You can definitely eat keys though, and if you eat something that's not food, you will die. So don't do that, but you can do. If the parser lets you do it. So walking around, waiting for my torch to go out, so I can see what the ending is there. I'm now getting very weak, so the food's running out faster than my torch is. I must have bought Duracell batteries. Other batteries are available, but Duracell are a brand leader. I didn't buy shitty batteries at Herne Bay. If you buy shitty batteries, don't be surprised when you get the shitty portion. So my torch has now gone out. The goblins eat me and pick their teeth with my bones. I've lost the game. It's a nice idea, adding the torch. I don't think it's very well implemented. But I think we can make it better, and we'll try as we move along. So with all these bits of machine code and fonts and whatnot, how do you actually get to use them properly without it being a constant nightmare of faffing about? So what you do is create a loader program, and I'm loading my loader program here by using merge, because that way it won't run. I call this program loader, and it has various features in it. First thing we do is a clear command. By saying clear, you set the top of the Spectrum memory to a lower value than you would normally expect. Here we're starting out with 43999. That is the last byte that we use. That which means that 44,000 above is okay. Because I'm adding something new, I'm dropping it down to 43699. So I'm going to add some code at 43700. I'm then loading a piece of machine code which is 768 bytes long. That's your font. And the next 4 lines are setting a high and low byte, which is an address, and then poking those into 23606 and 7. That's your font. I'm then doing load screen string, followed by a poke to 23739 of 111. That stops the Spectrum writing to the screen. Otherwise, you'll be constantly writing bytes program over your nice loading picture. I then load some machine code using the default address. Do that again. So I've got 2 bits of machine code. Finally, I load the program itself. Save this to tape as line 10. And then when it's run, it'll automatically load all the other fragments we require. Now move on to version 4. The addition of trolls and teleport. We have 3 new verbs: run, fight and teleport. You can run from the troll, if there is an exit of course, or you can fight the troll. There's also, as a last ditch attempt, you can also teleport, which will take you to a random part of the maze at a cost of your strength. And rather than telling you what the trolls all do, it just says there are hidden hazards in the dungeons which you'll have to overcome. I must say, I do like the carpet right effect. I just wish it was slower. Machine code is very, very fast. This is one case I wish it was just a little bit slower. So generate the maze, and off we go in the cave. I believe at some point I've been adding more words. So originally everything was either a cave or a passage. But I've certainly noticed that the word chamber appears. I've also changed, when you get your response, what next goes south, I've made it to inverse. So you can quite clearly see what you've typed in as opposed to what the game is telling you. So now we're in a damp, miserable cave where there was a golden key. I'll have that, thank you very much. It's always useful to have a key. Go east. I'm in a cold, echoing chamber. Echoing is a new adjective that I've added, and so is chamber. So rather than the 50-50 chance, you get there are now 5 different types of room, and 10 different adjectives for each type. But now we've encountered a golden key and a smelly troll. If we try and pick up the key or leave normally, we'll have to fight the troll and take a big health penalty. By fighting the troll, we take a smaller health penalty, but it'll still run us down. So I fight the beast, I smash in his skull, and he vanishes in a puff of greasy smoke, and so I get to take the golden key. I get to use it, unfortunately it now smashes. I'm now dying, so now you use teleport. I added another effect there from Supercharge Your Spectrum. That is a various pictures that are going up and down. That's using machine code to access the out thing directly, and when you die, I've made the screen go black. Because you've dead, therefore, let's be a bit more sombre. So, that is version 4. Now on to version 5, where the game adds monsters and magic dust. Monsters are being described as like trolls, but nastier. In the original code, they're actually not nastier at all, but I've made them actually nastier, so when you fight them, you take an additional bit of damage to health. You also get magic dust, though. You can throw magic dust at monsters, which will dispel them, which is nice, and the Crown of Emeralds is now always guarded by a monster. So here we're starting off with the troll. So if you don't fight, you can still try and pick up the things, then you'll automatically fight, but you'll take more damage, which is a bad thing. I've also changed the font again. I think this is a good font. It's nice and clear, but still stylistically appropriate. We've got the nice inverse effect, so you can see what you did last. You've got the persistent descriptions. You've got more varied descriptions. I've got there are now 500 different options you could have. I had issues with the randomization because I was using machine code. You get into machine code by doing either letter variable equals USR address. There's a monster. It's a hideous monster. Monsters have their own list of adjectives. Either letter variable equals user address, that wastes some memory. Print user address, that displays stuff on the screen. Or you can randomize user address, which seems lovely, but of course then sets the random C to whatever the return address is. So I kept noticing that all the mazes were always the same, because I kept going to set caps lock or issue a bit of speech. So I had to go through and make all those into variables, which is fine. Here we're in a cold, echoing tomb. Very gloomy. My Spectre's now fading. I'm now in a cold, echoing vault, but there is some food though, and a troll. Let's kill the troll. Excellent, we're getting very weak, so let's have that food. Food always comes in handy. Whenever you eat it, it restores your strength to full. So there is a certain level of pushing your luck.
Warrior needs food.
It's now telling me my strength is fading fast.
Warrior needs food.
A misty, eerie tomb with a rusty key. Hope I don't get tetanus.
Warrior needs food.
Door to the north and the west. I tend to eat the food when it says Warrior needs food badly.
Warrior needs food badly.
But what I've also done, there's the magic dust. We need the magic dust. I've also added a feature where the very last warning of your health is now in red ink and flashing.
Warrior needs food badly.
Because previously it was just plain text after the nice audio alerts. So you make it a bit special.
Warrior needs food badly.
This is the final version, a misty, eerie tomb. You can have tombs, chambers, passages. Oh, there we are. You're on your last legs, mate. Red ink and flash. So better eat the food. We found the cold, dirty cave with a crown of emeralds and a hideous monster. So now I'm going to use my magic dust. And the sentence you must use is throw magic dust at monster, which will destroy the monster instantly with a sound effect, which I put in with a bit of machine code from Supercharge Your Spectrum. The passing takes a lot longer. The monster disappeared, so let's take the crown of emeralds. And yeah, we win the game. Nice carpet effect there. Multicoloured border showing the crown of emeralds with 5 lovely emeralds. And the jaunty tune. So now all we have left is version 6, coming up next. This is the final version, the version I'll be making available thanks to the good graces of Mr. Jim Blimey. Version 6 of the game adds magic crystals and shimmering curtains of energy. You can dispel the shimmering curtains of energy which block your path by using magic dust, but you may prefer to save the magic dust for use with the monsters. Or you can also find a magic crystal and chuck those at the curtains instead. I've also added a couple of effects thanks to Supercharge Your Spectrum, and one thanks to Andrew Hewson and John Hardman, an effect I previously used in my Disco Dan intro. The game also lets you add your own instructions, so I've decided to warn you about the shimmering curtains, which may be dispelled with magic dust or with crystals, to give you a clue what's going on. I've also adjusted the torchlight yet again, because it's still not challenging enough. So here we are in a cold, dirty vault. There's a shiny crystal and a hideous monster and a shimmering curtain of energy to the north. If you noted, there was the beeping and then the changing of the colours. That's done thanks to the Hewson-Hardman effect of you can change the attributes of all the data on the screen without doing a clear screen first. I used that previously for the Disco Floor and Disco Dan. I think it's a nice effect. First things first, we've got to fight the monster. Of course, the curtain's still there. It sets the paper and the ink randomly. So you take the crystal. Job's a good one. The curtain's still shimmering though. So let's throw the crystal at the north shimmering curtain. It's important to specify the direction because you may have multiple shimmering curtains, and the curtain ain't sipping if it ain't crystal. Because the string is so long, it takes a considerable amount of time to pass, and then you're thinking, is it broken? I had some issues with this code here. The code in the book doesn't quite work, so I had to fix it a few times. It took a large amount of time. We get the same throwing sound effect, though. Now the curtain's disappeared, which is nice. And now we move on to the final adjustment I've made. This is a multi-border effect I've done with death. I've now died of exhaustion. We get the nice fade-out effect we had before, and black and white border. This is done with some stuff from David Webb's Supercharge Your Spectrum, and it's rather effective. You know, put respect for the dead. Do you want another game? No, I think I'm all right. And let's see how much time we had left. Obviously, it's black ink, black paper. Set ink to 7 and print time 18. I set the limit now to 60. So let's have a final recap of what we looked at today. The first version, version 1 from the book, the program size on the tape was 9,717 bytes, and if you're loading it from tape, it would take 1 minute and 8 seconds. Version 1.1, my first amendment to the basic program. Program size on tape increases to 10,803 bytes. Loading time increases to 2 minutes 27 seconds. That's over double. That's because we've added a loading screen, which sort of takes a bit more time. Added persistent room descriptions, which I think really improves the game. Added a font, 768 bytes. That's a lot more time to load, but I think it lifts things up. A nice crown effect for victory. It wasn't that hard to do. It's a bit of basic code, but I think it really makes a nice sense of achievement when you win. Version 2.1 now. First one, the book actually adds things. Program size now is 13,177 bytes. And now takes 4 minutes 30 seconds to load. That is mostly my fault. The book added food and strength. So it gives you a sort of timer to how do you play. So of course I've added a voice sample which is massive, which is 20,100 bytes. I could save some of that by not having all the machine code, because the machine code for the voice sample includes the sampling software as well as the playback software. But that's only 50 bytes. Version 3, program size is now 13,820 bytes. Loading time is up to 4 minutes 48 seconds. Time to make a cup of tea. The book added torchlight, batteries and goblins. So a second timing mechanism. I've added a carpet light clear screen effect, which is only 78 bytes, but I think it's rather nice. It would be nice if it was slower. That was from Supercharge Your Spectrum. Version 4. Program size is up to 15,619 bytes. Loading time is now 5 minutes 20 seconds. Time for a wee. Book added trolls, fighting, running, and teleportation. I added a teleport magic sound effect, which is 47 bytes from Supercharge Your Spectrum. A fade out effect on death, 50 bytes from Supercharge Your Spectrum. And adjusted torchlight to actually hopefully have it actually make an effect on the gameplay. Up to version 5. The book added increased the program size now to 16,907 bytes. Loading time is 5 minutes 36 seconds. Time to make a toasted sandwich. The book added monsters and magic dust. I added a white noise effect when throwing the magic dust, which is only 49 bytes from Supercharge Your Spectrum, and adjusted the torchlight again, because it was still too lenient. On to the final version. Program size is now up to 17,600 bytes. That's nearly double what we started. Loading time is now a stately 6 minutes. The book added magic crystals and shimmering curtains to block your path. I added a disco screen effect for the shimmering curtains. That was from Andrew Hewson and John Hardman. And a black and white border effect for death, 68 bytes. That was from Supercharge Your Spectrum with David Webb. I also made the monsters hurt more. It says they hurt more, but they don't. Now they do. Also adjusted the torchlight yet again to make it more aggressive. And it's still not aggressive enough. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully you have a go at the game from Jim Blimey's website. And hopefully see you again in the future.